no buying into the close here. It looks like we are going to end the day across the board in the red.
Yeah, first down day for the S&P 500 in 9 days. It's too bad for those keeping track at home who would have seen quite the record. If we did see 9 days in a row of gains for the S&P 500, it would have been its longest winning streak in more than a decade. But does not look like we're going to make it there. Turns out, Katie, stocks also go down.
Yeah, nice reminder there, of course. Also, volume goes down, too. You take a look at trading volume on the day, just falling off a cliff, down 25% on the S&P 500 from its 20-day average because, I mean, the real action starts tomorrow when it comes to catalysts for this market. We have revisions tomorrow and then, of course, just the drumbeat to Jackson Hole.
Did you say revisions on the job numbers?
Yeah. Payroll revisions.
Could be big. Could be big. Hundreds of thousands it could be.
Gird yourself.
We say it could be big, and then we should prepare ourselves for absolutely nothing happening and everyone talking about Jackson Hole.
Yes.
The next
exactly
catalyst,
right.
perhaps.
But, there is something happening in the FX market, guys. I'm kind of obsessed with what's happening with the dollar. The Bloomberg Dollar Index now down by about 0.2%. It's been rolling over significantly and really below some strong moving averages. And I kind of wonder, what does that mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyone?
What's it mean?
I don't know.
Romaine, please answer the question.
I don't know. I'm still stuck on Katie's girding for revisions. What time does that come out, Katie?
I think it comes out pretty early in the morning.
Don't let him fool you. He's totally into this, by the way.
I'll still be asleep.
He's into
All
it.
right.
No,
we get the
no
closing
way.
bells in New York, and as required, everyone still has to clap and cheer despite red across the screen. Modest losses, to be sure, on the day with the Dow down roughly about 62 points or about 0.1%. The S&P 500 down 11 points or 0.2%. The NASDAQ composite down about 0.3%. And the Russell 2000, that's your big underperformer here on the day, moving lower by 1.2%.
Okay, finishing down by 0.2%, the S&P 500, that is. We did see, though, 170 names in the S&P 500 move higher today, while 330 names did move lower.
And when you look at the sector performances, it's pretty much ho-hum. Out of the 11 sectors, only one moved more than 0.5%, and that would be energy. Energy stocks declining about 2 2/3% on the day, whereas you have materials, financials losing ground by about 0.4%. The gainers include some of your perennial defensive groups like consumer staples, healthcare, and REITs.
All right, I got a gainer for you when it comes to the cybersecurity space. Let's start with Palo Alto Networks. Shares jumping today by 7% on the day today. This after the company gave a strong forecast and boosted its share buyback program. They managed to grow sales 12% last quarter. That was faster than expected. Full year sales of just over $8 billion. That was in line with consensus expectations. Remember, this was all moderated after it cut its outlook earlier this year. You'll remember back in February, the stock took a big hit after the CEO said that customers were suffering from, quote, spending fatigue in cybersecurity. The value of shares plummeted by a record 27%. Just about 6 months ago. So a nice recovery for Palo Alto Networks, at least today, in the wake of its most recent earnings report. Also, ticker HA, Hawaiian Holdings Incorporated, higher today, jumping to the highest at least intraday going back to June of 2022, finishing higher by 11.3%. This after the time period for the Department of Justice to complete its regulatory investigation into the merger with Alaska Air actually expired. The deal does remain subject to other conditions, including approval from the Department of Transportation, Alaska said in a statement. And finally, SiriusXM Holdings, SIRI, is the ticker, higher today by close to 7%. This after the company announced it signed a multi-year deal for Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy podcast and network of shows. It's going from Spotify to SiriusXM. The idea is that it'll give SiriusXM exclusive rights to sell ads on the audio and video versions of her show, bonus content, and events. Cooper had 4 million followers on Spotify, the 7th most popular podcast in the U.S. Remember, next year, Howard Stern's contract with SiriusXM expires, so an important content move coming from the satellite radio company.
All right, let's look at some of the decliners. And I'm going to start with Boeing. Of course, the story there, I think we all know it, that Boeing halting 777X.
I thought revisions were the story.
It is the story, Romaine, but not until tomorrow. So let's talk about Boeing right now. Halting those test flights of its 777X jetliner while it inspects some crucial structural component parts. Apparently, the component that connects the engines to the plane's wings having some trouble, as I understand.
Should that stay together? Or what?
It's very important that it does. So they're going to pause those flights right now, and you can see shares down 4% intraday, just adding to Boeing's bad year there. And then my next two stories, a bit of a twofer here, because of course we all saw the news about Eli Lilly's drug Zepbound cutting the risk of diabetes by 94% in a 3-year study. You take a look actually at some of the diabetes device makers, Dexcom and Insulet, some of your biggest losers in the S&P 500 today. And obviously we see sort of a pair trade emerging there because Eli Lilly had a great day.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's a really good point. By the way, guys, just so we get rid of any question marks, 10 a.m. apparently, according to EcoGo, is when the BLS will release preliminary annual payrolls benchmark revisions.
Why so early?
It's going to be so exciting for everybody.
A great trio of anchors, though, on open interest will be there.
Katie will be there with Shanali as well as Matt Miller. All right, I'm going to the bond market here, guys, because there was a pretty solid bid all across the curve. Yields lower, 2-year down by 7 basis points. You with the 10-year also down by about 5 basis points. I mean, yes, you also have the weaker dollar. I'm just trying to make sense of kind of what is happening within the FX market. I'm a little bit more into that than bond market. But anyway, some buying into tomorrow.
All right, well, one market that we're certainly interested in is the New York City real estate market. And among the most read stories on the Bloomberg terminal is a story about how the city is planning to sell apartments on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, just 2 blocks from Central Park. The real news here, though, is it's not going to cost millions of dollars for one of these apartments as it typically would at market rate, as low as $173,801, Katie.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, of course. These apartments are going to be sold via lottery to New Yorkers that make less than 120% of the area's median income, who have no more than $280,000 of assets, and more than 10,000 people have already applied ahead of the August 27th deadline.
10,000?
So that supply-demand imbalance
how many
that applies
apartments are in
here.
this
That's the thing. There's 17 studio and 1-bedroom units available.
Yeah.
It's literally winning the lottery.
Yes,
Amazing.
Yeah.
more than 10,000 people applying for that. I mean, that's harder than getting into like Harvard University.
Is this the building? Oh, I know that.
Well, but the best part is, no, it's not the building. So that's near there.
Oh, we're just showing random buildings?
No, but the reason why is because like a 4-bedroom just sold in that building for like $7.8 million.
Wow.
And like a studio sells for like $1 million. So just to put in an idea, like
context.
this is the building where the apartments are, but it's
not
right by
bad.
the Natural History Museum. They redid all the apartments inside.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is how you build wealth, you guys. I love this story.
Okay,
if you win the lottery.
Yeah, good for them.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, for those 17 people. Good.
Well, that's an interesting question. Could you actually, if you win this lottery and you get the unit, can you then sell it for, several million dollars?
Right? I mean, maybe
No,
there's
actually restrictions on it. Yeah,
But if you sell, then you have to find another piece of property. So that's another
But
problem.
eventually they can sell it at some point. That's going to accumulate wealth, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But can they
maybe
sell it
they'll
at
pass
market
along.
rate, or does it always have to be sold at a percentage of
It does, yeah.
the folks who...
There's a lot of fine
Romaine
print,
read the
I'm
story.
sure, in all of this. The other story that we're paying attention to as we, of course, focus on the consumer and how comfortable or how confident they're feeling is this idea that everyone goes to Disneyland, or a lot of families like to bring their kids to Disneyland, but a lot of families are now starting to go into debt to pay for these Disneyland vacations because the trip costs anywhere from like $6,000 to $10,000. People are paying for it on their credit card and then taking a couple of months to pay off their credit card debt.
Okay, these are pretty mind-boggling numbers. The story coming from the New York Times, as you mentioned, analysis from NerdWallet found that a 1-week trip to Disney can range from $6,400 to $15,500. It does not include flights or souvenirs.
Souvenirs. Wow, the
That's pretty
souvenirs,
wild.
that'll set you back another 10 grand.
No, for real. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, and people are willing to go into debt for this kind of thing as well. There was a great story in the article about a couple that went all the time every year. When their son was born, they kept going even when they couldn't afford it and put it on their credit card. That's insanity.
It's part of their family tradition, but also the costs have increased by a lot. If you want to go on the fast line and everything, you now have to pay, I think, $15 per person, whereas before that was free.
Yeah.
And things just add up really quickly. The shuttles that used to be maybe $25 flat are now based on surge pricing as well. So it's like taking an Uber to get from one part of the park to another.
What's the strategy then for new parents? Pretend it doesn't exist?
Yeah, don't tell. Just don't
no
tell
such
your
thing.
kids.
That.
Don't tell your kids it
Yeah,
exists.
good luck with that, too.
All right.
And don't get sick if you go to Disney, by the way.
So much fun
Too
stuff to
soon,
look
too
forward to.
soon.
Thanks, guys.